Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever been playing the guitar and you've wondered, how am I going to develop my own style? How am I going to sound like myself and not sound like somebody else or, some other artist or something that I've been inspired by, that I've learned their music? How do I avoid sounding like them and sounding like an original artist? Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. And before we do, remember, don't forget to go down below, click the subscribe button. I appreciate it very much if you would do that. It really helps the channel grow. So get down there and get to it. Anyway, let's explore that idea a little bit. We all start learning the guitar in a similar way. I mean, we start with the open chords and all the scales and all those usual things that we typically would start learning. But of course, once we get some of that going, we always look to artists and bands that we like, that inspire us, and we go to learn their music usually. And you might be thinking, when you start doing that and you spend a lot of time doing that, when do you get to the point where you start to sound like an original artist? And that's kind of the rub there. How do we go from learning and covering our favorite artists to becoming our own artist? Well, maybe that's the problem though, is we're asking that question instead of exploring our own creativity. Because while sounding like yourself should be a goal with your music, it shouldn't be the defining goal of getting you to where you want to be. And that's where the next point comes in. You can spend all your time learning all those songs of your heroes and things like that, but you have to try to exercise that creative part of your mind and try to experiment with the guitar and learn, new and fun and interesting ways to play the same things that you've already been playing. But it can be as simple as extending an idea from another artist you already have learned, or it could be just, keeping the things they do in the back of your mind. It'd be like, oh, maybe they go to a minor 7 chord here. They go to this 1, 3, 5 kind of chord progression here. It does this kind of solo in this kind of scale. You think about the tendencies those artists have, and then you go try to be creative, come up with your own things. Those things will come out in your playing, but you're still starting from the point of nothing and creating an original idea from those things that you already understand, those concepts that you've picked up on from all these other artists, but it's resulting in an amalgamated kind of thing that's somewhere in between the artist that you're coming from to the artist that you want to be as an individual. But of course, that thought continues of, are you really sounding like an original artist, or are you still just using things you already know from another artist to come up with those ideas? And well, the thing to think about is good musicians typically are really good thieves. They take a lot of ideas from other artists and use them in their own playing, in their own writing all the time. And you don't necessarily pick up on that though, because they figured out a way to coat that in their own perspective and interpret that into an original piece of music rather than sounding too much like somebody else. And that's what I'm kind of talking about. You listen for the concepts and the different tendencies of an artist, you take them within yourself, and then at the end of the day, something unique will come out when you combine that with your own perspective and the perspective of another artist. We've all got to start at the bottom with that, So you're going to sound a little bit like somebody else probably when you make original music. And that's how it is. The key is not trying so hard to hide or to sound like somebody else. See, if you try to force those things down from other artists and hide it, you're going to end up probably losing something in your creativity. Things might feel a little soulless just because you're trying to avoid something so hard that you're missing other things that could have been there. But then there's the flip side. If you're trying really hard to sound like somebody else, you're shoving down your own creativity and your own originality for an idea that you already know works, but you're just rehashing the same thing. So is anyone really going to care if you've made music that just sounds like somebody else? You know, modern metal has that problem where good bands come out and then every metal artist is like, oh, I want to sound like that. I want to use that guitar. I want to use that amp. I want to do all that. They spend so much time trying to sound like somebody else that they become boring and derivative, and they wonder why nobody wants to listen to their music. It's because that perspective isn't there. And that's kind of the point. How do you sound like yourself? You quit trying not to sound like somebody else. And you also don't purposefully try to sound expressly like another artist. You take from all the knowledge that you've gathered through that process, and you sit down with the guitar and you just noodle around, you experiment, you try to be creative in your own perspective and your own way. It's just like, even to guitar licks, this is a simple example. A lot of artists will play a guitar lick a certain way, or you might have a certain guitar lick somebody plays that you really like, and then you go to interpret that. You can play it exactly how they're doing that, or you can think about a different way to do it. Maybe be like, oh, I could do this run here, I could swap this note around here, I could do this bend here instead of doing this. And that's how you get, you know, somewhere to sounding original, is you manipulate that idea. And it sounds like I'm repeating myself here, but that's kind of the point with that. You know, you need to hammer that idea into your head that sounding like somebody else is not a big deal. You just need to put in the effort to be creative, and the originality will come to you as a result of the things you've already learned. So you can wear your influences on your sleeve if you want to, but it can't be your entire outfit. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this discussion here about sounding like yourself and being creative. And I hope you will like and subscribe. If you did, don't forget to click the bell so you get a notification when a new video is out. And with that, I will see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.